First of all, I'd like to say thank you to you for coming. We're still building and growing, and people are still learning a lot about what co-working is in Bozeman. A lot of people don't know what it is. And so I'm thankful to see you all here. I also would like to, I was hoping Karen would be back in here, but really compliment Karen on, Karen, I want to compliment you. Thumbs up. I'd really like you to give her a hand. She has worked her rear end off on this and had an eye and a vision of how everything should look and do it, and she's just been phenomenal. She's an opera singer, very talented woman, and then her mother is sitting next to her, and she is Leslie, and she's the artist of all this beautiful artwork that we have in some of the different rooms. And her information is on the wall in the other room that tells you a little bit about her and her background. You work for KUSM, is it?
No, I actually work for Human Resource right now. For MSU.
Oh, okay.
MSU.
Oh, okay. I didn't know with Margaret whether that was a connection or not. So anyway, thanks, Karen. I really am impressed. I really am. So thanks. And then she also knows Jeremiah and was telling me about him, and I was very impressed when she started telling me about your background. And asked him if he would come do a very brief talk, a little bit of just to give you some new ideas about what you're doing, and then it fits into kind of our co-working innovation theme. So thank you. And so you said you were going to introduce yourself,
Sure.
right?
I got
Okay.
it.
All right. Well, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, my name is Jeremiah Slovarp. I'm the president of Peach Street Studios in Bozeman here. I also own Jereco Studios. Both of those companies are dedicated to serving music, film, television, media, a variety of different networks located in the area. As I was discussing here earlier, we produced the TED event, all of the audiovisual aspects of TED Bozeman. I own the contracts for Music on Main, Music in the Mountains, Classic Music Fest, 3 of the 5 stages in Sweet Pea. Both the city of Bozeman and the city of Big Sky's 4th of July event festivals. So those of you who go to watch the Bozeman Symphony Orchestra on the 4th, the sound and lights, the entire production of the Bozeman Symphony and all 60 microphones for their musicians will be my work. As well as my other team in Big Sky producing the Freddie Pink concert in Big Sky for the pavilion. So we do a lot of large-scale production work, event, high-angle rigging to fly thousands of pounds of equipment up in the air safely for sound and lights. That's outside the building. Inside the building, what we do is recording for bands, musicians, post-production for film and televisions. Those of you who watch PBS, 11th and Grant with Eric Funk, everything you hear is my work. Everything you hear on National Geographic Wild with Casey Anderson, America the Wild or Explore, everything you hear there is my work. All of the porting of that National Geographic assets to Microsoft video games for children between the ages of 3 and 10 to pretend that they're the grizzly bear they just saw on the TV screen is my work. So all of these different aspects, facets of media and industry are kind of combined into one house that really focuses on audio, but we do make sure that our clients' needs are served in so many other aspects, and we pave the way for them to make sure that their video production gets done, to make sure that the TED event goes smoothly, or to make sure that Sweet Pea is properly stage managed, things like that. In addition to that, I teach adjunct at Montana State University. I teach entertainment business Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 2 to 3. And I'm also the technical director for the School of Music's Reynolds Recital Hall and concerts. So there's a number of little teeny tiny hats that I roll with. And then 11th and Grant, which I mentioned, last year I won an Emmy Award for my work on PBS for audio. Was the specific title. What I wanted to talk to you guys about today, and before I get started, if you could sum up your job in one industry word, such as banking, entertainment, any of those kind of things, I would just like to know who is in front of me today.
Software entrepreneur.
Software, great.
South.
Repeat.
Pardon me?
What did you say?
South.
South.
South?
Caribbean.
Caribbean, South. All right.
No, I thought you meant what you do. Summarize what you do.
Summarize what you do.
Yeah.
South.
Oh.
Writer.
Stuff in the Caribbean.
I am writer,
Writer.
author.
What do we got here?
Emergency services.
Emergency services.
Internet marketing.
Internet marketing.
Outdoors.
Outdoors.
Executive coaching.
Executive coaching.
Student.
Student.
Artist.
Artist. Excellent. Okay, so we all have to pay our bills somehow. No matter what, we eventually have to pay rent. Our businesses have to pay rent, and we have to be able to pay ourselves, our staff, and our employees. And what I wanted to talk to you today, from a small business point of view, from a small business standpoint, is who are we really serving? Are we really serving ourselves? Are we really serving our customers? Are we really serving the people who are paying us? And it's a very difficult thing to think about because traditionally, in a simplistic version, I'm going to use a waiter example. The waiter serves someone at a dinner table. That is their client. That is all that matters. For the time that client sits at the table, till the time that client leaves, the waiter is at the beck and call of that client. And if that client is unhappy, it is the waiter's fault. For all intents and purposes. Very simplistic. It is a very difficult thing to serve multiple masters. And we will all find ourselves in these positions to serve masters. You said emergency services. I'm going to just throw out an ambulance for a moment. Truly, who is your master? Is it the person paying you to drive around in an ambulance and offer emergency services? Or is it the person that you're helping that you're being paid to help? You serve two masters. The hand that feeds you and the hand that you're trying to put back together. So serving multiple masters has a number of different impacts and implications. For example, you have to ask a couple of good questions. First off, who really is paying your bill? The person who's paying you may be writing you the check, but are they actually paying your bill? If you're self-employed, are you really paying your own bills? Probably not. What is the ultimate goal of your job function or of the business that you're working for? Is the ultimate goal to be profitable? That's an acceptable answer. In corporate America, being profitable is an acceptable goal. Service industries, cell phone, profit margins matter. Automobile industry, profit margins matter. Sure, other things like safety and exposure to radiation from cell phones and other things like that are to be taken into consideration, but it's a profitability industry. Now let's talk about an artist, okay? Your job is not to be profitable, but to bring enjoyment not only to yourself, but those who view your work. Now, money comes with success of art, but your goal as an artist is to create.
That's right.
So, who have you served? Yourself, your viewing audience, and your patron. You've got three masters. Why should I listen to you? This is the biggest question that I ask all of the people who come up to me and make obscene and crazy requests that I do as they say when they're at one of my concerts, or when they're in my recording studio, or when I'm on their movie set. Who are you and why are you giving me commands? Why am I to listen to you? And most of the time is because they're the hand that feeds me. Or indirectly, they're the hand that feeds me. So let's talk about, from my particular industry, the buyer. The buyer is the person who ultimately is giving you the first point of sale. That check, the money, the deposit, they're the one who is managing your, who's giving you the contract and said, here, you can have this job, and now you're going to go do all these things on my behalf. Yet, you may never interact with the buyer. You may never have any words with the buyer other than the initial exchange with the contract and the signing of the deposit and taking the check to the bank. They are your boss just because they pay you. That's a fair enough statement. They're the one that have initiated the contract. They're the one that initiated that point of business with you. And by default, they now command you. And this is especially true in self-employment. Because obviously you can't command yourself. You have to get work from other places. And they are paying. Who else are they paying? Are there other people on the same job site as you that this same boss is paying that now all of a sudden you need to be mindful of where you step? Because there's a chain of command. And you might be under somebody else, even though that somebody else hasn't paid you. And it's a very important line to watch and follow to make sure that everybody's positions are respected in small business and on a multi-contracted industry. For example, TED. There's caterers. There's video people. Montana PBS was producing the video content. There are production staff and managers, people who are there to make sure that the show runs smoothly. There's technical staff like myself there to make sure that there's no technical problems, there's no feedback, the speakers are working, the video projectors are working, the Angela on performance goes on without a hitch, the stages are assembled, and that kind of stuff. There's all these different aspects to a particular job, and there's a chain of command. You're going to answer probably to the buyer, the person who initiated the point of sale with all of the contractors. Yet each of the contractors must be respected. And you might find yourself in a position where you're giving commands to one of the contractors on behalf of the buyer, or the buyer is letting one of the other contractors give you commands on their behalf. And you need to know your place. It's a very important, first step to know your place. So moving away from the buyer, we get ourselves into the talent. I've geared this talk towards rock and roll, music, film, television, actors, that kind of stuff, where they are my main client. I am bought by a TV station. I am bought by a producer at Chamberlain Productions, or Music on Main, or Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea says, here's your contract, show up to Sweet Pea Festival and take care of our talent. The talent walks on stage, and they immediately know that they are in charge. You are there for them. I'm not there for the buyer. The buyer may be paying me, the buyer may be one of my bosses, but my real boss is the talent on the stage. If I cannot respect and take care of the talent who walks on stage for a show, a concert, a TV set, or into my studio and show them the respect that they demand and deserve to perform and create their art, the whole thing is dead before it even gets going. It's completely shot. So, medical industry, person ends up in an ambulance, and the ambulance crew is rude, mean, bedside manners, we all know that phrase, okay? There's going to be some negative interaction that happens between the patient and the staff trying to treat them. And that will all trickle up to the boss, because there's, your comment sheets, right? So, or they die. Okay, so, this is all true. So, it's very important that you respect the real bosses, and that is, in this case, and at least in my case, it's going to be the talent. The talent is going to show up, and they're going to tell you what they need to perform. They're going to tell you what they need to make this concert go off without a hitch, so that they can perform, so that they can create their art and show the community what fantastic artists they are. And without good production support that knows their place and knows that the production support knows that they're there to serve the talent can't actually do their job without you. Why is the talent there? The talent is here on behalf of the boss, of the buyer, on behalf of the buyer. The talent is also here to perform. And so that talent has had their road paved for them, again by the buyer, to present to the audience. And you are the intermediary to make sure that that happens, that the reason that they are there is successful, and that it is executed properly. Who are they performing for? They're performing for you. They're performing for the audience. And that takes me to my third buyer, or my third boss here, and that is the audience. So when I talk about I have 3 masters to serve, I really do. I have the people writing my check, I have the people that my check writer have hired, and I have the audience that's paying my check writer. Wow. And I must serve all 3, like truly and faithfully. If I neglect any of the 3, I will either not get hired again, I will be fired on the spot, or I will be completely disrespected. And that's a very important, an important realization to follow. If you want to stay in business, you have to keep all of your masters happy. And without that, you'll always fall short. So, what does the audience expect? The audience expects, they really do think that they're the bosses. And so this is the whole serving the masters thing. When you get an audience member who gets up in your face and they're like, this band sucks, or the sound sucks, or the lights are too bright, or all these negative things that they're trying to do, you have to find creative and useful ways to diffuse the situation very quickly and very effectively. While they are indirectly paying your bill, remember you're still answering to the talent, because the talent was the real boss. So you let the audience think that they're the bosses. They're going to be interacting with the crowd, or I'm sorry, with the talent on the stage. They're going to be interacting with themselves. They may interact with the technical staff. They may interact with the production staff or with the security staff because they get too unruly. And all of these things compound and add up to a successful or unsuccessful show. And if you can contain the audience and let the audience do the talking, let the audience really think that they're in command, the artist all of a sudden goes up, because positive interaction from an audience is going to reflect well on the artist. A cheering crowd only fuels an artist on. A booing crowd isn't going to help an audience at all. I'm sorry, a booing crowd isn't going to help an artist at all. So when you look at this from, again, from your true boss's perspective, the talent, if you can't serve the talent, you've not been able to serve the audience. If you haven't been able to serve the audience, who is paying the ticket, the price of admission to your buyer, you have completely closed the cycle off. And it's very important that you follow each of the chains of your masters to make sure that the events are following through properly. You need the audience to continue to come back in order to stay in business. When your job depends on the price of admission so that the buyer can pay for you, when your job depends on your ability to keep the artist happy so that they don't complain to the producer, so they don't make a fool out of you at a show. I mean, I know artists who, if they don't like the sound engineer, they'll feed a mic back deliberately. They can do it. They have the power to do that. And if all of those aspects are kept very happy and positive throughout the whole interaction, you can stay employed. And this is going to go with everything from software. I mean, your end clientele are going to be the people buying your software. Yet the angel firm funding your capital campaign, if you don't have metrics, marks, and performance, they're not going to continue to pay you. And then when you go to sell, where are you going to go? If you're getting bad feedback from your clientele or bad feedback from the audience for the performance of your software. Art is, my heart goes out to you. Art is such a difficult industry. It really is, because you're always at the mercy of somebody's eye. Truly. And it's, we live in a world of all these different senses. Taste, touch, sight, smell, all that kind of stuff. But artists in general, television, you only get two senses, sight and sound. Concerts, you get sight and sound. Paintings, you really only get sight because you're not supposed to touch. Sculptors, perhaps sight and touch. So you're very limited on the senses that you can work with your audiences at. And being able to serve your audiences through the senses that you have is really how you are going to have to stay in business. And you have to pay attention to which master you're trying to serve. And in my case, in my business, I serve the artist. That is who I have to serve. Without the artist, without the art, I have no buyer. Without the audience, I have no listeners. And so it's very important to know which of your masters to serve.